everyone, it's Mindy from My Creative Scoop, and I'm back with a new Copic coloring tutorial for my favorite things. I'm going to be coloring this super cute stamp set, and she is called Butterfly Kisses. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is coloring her skin tone. So we're going to be using E13, E11, E00, E000, and I'm also going to be using R30 and R32 for her cheeks. Now I like to color my cheeks first so that way I get the red down onto her face, and then when I color using the skin tones, it blends it even more so that way she doesn't have that really harsh pink cheek look. So I'm just going to make a couple of little dots here with R32, and then I'm going to take my R30 and I'm just going to bring that circle out just a little bit bigger. And now I'm going to take my E13 and we're going to go ahead and make the shadowed areas. So it's going to be shadowed directly on the sides of her face. So I'm just going to very lightly come down each side. And I'm going to start coming down each side of the cheek just a little bit. And then also right underneath her little headband and a little bit on the inside parts of her ears. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my E11 and I'm going to just flick the color coming inward towards the center of the face. And then I'm going to come down just a little bit more on each side. So that way with each new lighter color, we're just filling in the face a little bit more. And now with my E00, I'm gonna do the exact same thing, just with each time we're just bringing in the color just a little bit more. I'm gonna fill in the ears. And then I'm gonna come down along the side, all the way down to her chin now. And I like to color in sections, so I'll go ahead and do the face first and then I'll move to the arms and the legs because I want to make sure I'm blending while the ink is wet. So if I were to do it in sections and do the E13 and do the E13 all on her arms and then on her legs, by the time I get up here, depending on how quickly you color, you want to use the ink when it's wet so that way you have a better, you get a better blend. So now I'm going to take my E000 and I'm going to do the exact same thing, just bringing in the color a little bit more. I'm still going to leave that center part white so that way it stays the lightest. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to repeat that whole process. So I'm going to take my E13 again and I'm just going to go back down in the shadowed areas in the same areas that we first added the color. And then I'm going to repeat with my E11. And then repeat with my E00. And then now I'm back to my E000. So I'm going to get a good blend on that edge right here of the E00. And once I have it nice and blended out, then I'll do the one swipe over in the center so that way her face is completely filled in, but it still stays its lightest. So now we're going to go ahead and do the rest of her body. So I'm going to take my E13 again, and I'm just going to color in the whole part of her little neck right there because her head's going to be casting a shadow onto her neck, so it's not going to have any highlight. And now for the arms, directly underneath her sleeve, and then coming down the inside part of her arm, and just a little bit in between the fingers. Same thing on this arm. And then I'll go ahead and we'll do the legs since the arms aren't very big, so we can go ahead and color this at the same time. So directly underneath her dress and all along the inside. Now when you get to about where her knee is going to be, I'm gonna come in just a little bit because we're gonna create that look to her knee. Then I'm gonna come down on the side and then on the inside parts of where her foot is peeking out of her shoe. So the same thing on this side, it's going to be directly underneath the dress, and then once you get to the knee, we're going to give it a little curl in. And now we're gonna take our E11 and we're just gonna come out a little bit more. So I'm just gonna flick from where the E13 is, coming out just a little bit more. Same thing over here. And then same thing down here. I'm gonna come out just a little bit more from underneath her dress. And then right when you get to her knee, I'm gonna continue that little curl coming out just a little bit more. So that way it fades with each new lighter color that we add. And now with my E000, so E000, I'm gonna get a good blend. Sometimes when I'm working with less room, I'll skip between colors so that way I can still have that dark to light shadow. And then I'll go back with my second coat and kind of skip between to see which colors I need, if I need more light or if I need more dark. So now I have the lightest area where I want it to stay light. I'm gonna keep that white. And now we're gonna repeat. So I'm gonna go back with my E13, get that shadow back in there since it faded with each of those lighter colors. And now I'm going to skip that E11 and I'm going to go straight to my E00. I'm going to do a heavy flick so I still have some room for that highlight. And now with my E000, I'm going to go ahead and just fill in the white area that we have left. Now I'm feeling like I look a little bit blotchy in there, so I'm going to go back with my E11 and I'm just going to get that curl for her knee. I'm going to add that back in there, and then I'm going to do a heavy flick coming out right from underneath her dress. Do another little heavier flick up here with her arm using my E11. And now let's go ahead and go again with our E00. All right, so she has a nice little shadow right there for her knee. So now we're gonna go ahead and color her wings. So her wings are gonna be a light blue. I wanted them to look kind of translucent. So you're gonna need B14, B00, and B000. We're gonna start with our B14, and I'm gonna stay close to her dress, and I'm just gonna kind of give a little flick going out, and then I'm gonna stop. So wherever your marker just stops, we're just gonna go ahead and let that be. It's just so we have a little bit of a darker shadow and for definition for that for the blue to make it look a little translucent. And then right in here where these little scalloped areas are on her wings, I'm just gonna give a little bit of color, creating that little bit of a shadow. We're gonna do the same thing on this side. And then down here, and then also over in this little corner here. And I'm actually going to come down all along the bottom part so it looks like the wing is going behind her dress. So now we're going to take our B00, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. We're just going to give it a little bit of a heavier flick so it continues. And the same thing over here. I'm just going to continue tracing along that outline. and give it a little flick going out here to kind of blend out that harsh line that's right up there against her dress. Okay, so now with that B000, I'm gonna do another heavy flick, and we still wanna leave a white area on her wings so they look transparent. So I'm just gonna do a heavy flick so that way, and this color is light enough to where it could blend nicely into the white. So that way you still leave that little bit of white space. So I have a little bit of white space still left over here in this corner. But I am gonna go ahead and do that heavier flick over here where we added that shadow. So that way there's still white along the edge here and then on each of those pieces inside the wing. And we'll do the same thing over here. All right, so then that's it for her wings. I'm gonna leave them so that way they have that transparent look to them. Now we're gonna go ahead and start coloring her dress. So for her dress, we're going to be using BV00, BV02, BV04, and BV23 for some shadows. So she's gonna have this purpley bluish kind of dress going on. So with each of these little areas down here where the dress comes down, we're gonna really concentrate on those lines right here and creating our own pleats. So I'm gonna start with my BV04, and right along this first little crease where it's starting to go up, I'm just going to make a little triangle. So it's gonna be really thin on the edges, and as I come up, it's gonna get thicker. And then we're gonna stop. We're just gonna make that little area right in there. I'm gonna do the same thing over here. And this time we're gonna pull it up a little bit higher. And we're gonna do the same thing right here. And then the same thing right here. It's gonna stop at her hand. So now we're gonna take the BV02 and we're gonna come right along the side. And we wanna blend it out a little bit, but we're just making that triangle that we just created a little bit thicker. And I'm gonna come up a little bit higher. Still leaving that area right in the center of each of those parts not colored. You want to leave those light. And then we're going to go ahead and make a little bit of a shadow right underneath her arm and then coming down. It's the same thing on this side. And then right here at her waist, I'm going to follow it all along the belt. And I'm going to come down in between the pleats just a little. And the same thing over here, and the same thing over here. So now we're going to take that BV00 and I'm just gonna fill it in, but I still wanna leave that white area because like I said, we always go back and add that second coat. So we want those areas to stay its lightest. So we're not gonna add color until the very end. Okay, so now we're gonna go back with our BV04 and we're going to go back up that center, and we're gonna stay really thin. We're just making that line a little bit darker in the center so that way it looks like it's really folding on the inside. And I'm gonna add a little bit of a shadow just right behind here. So now we're gonna go back with our BV02 and we're gonna repeat that whole process. So it looks kind of like a squiggly mess. And then we're gonna take that BV00 and now we're gonna go ahead and do the center. We're gonna fill in all that white area. At the same time, we're gonna be pulling in some of that BV02 so that way we get a good blend. But we can still see those creases. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and define those just a little bit more. So this time I'm gonna go back with my BV23. We're gonna add a little bit more of that shadow. And then let's go with our BV02. And then again with our BV00. So I'm going to go back in the lighter areas. I don't want to go back with my BV00 over the darker areas because then the darker color is just going to start pulling away. So we're just making the dress a little bit darker. And then we're actually going to take N5 and we're going to go, we want to go in, we're going to go inside the center part of the triangle that we just created. So we're going to really make that pleat look like it's even deeper. So then we'll take that BV04 and go over that N5 because we don't want it to be gray. We want it to be a darker version of the BV04. I'm going to add a little bit more BV04 up here. And then again with my BV02 to blend out that BV04. And along the sides and the bottom. And I'm going to go one more time with my BV00, just back in those light areas. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and finish the top part of her dress. So I'm gonna start with my BV04, and right underneath her arms and on the top part of her belt, I'm just gonna kind of trace along the sides and also come on the inside part of her arm and up that sleeve. So we're just gonna be shadowing that area. And also right back behind her shoulder. So just a little bit of a shadow. And now with my BV02, we're gonna go in the exact same areas. We're just coming out a little bit more to fill in the rest of her dress. Still leaving a white area. And then we'll take that BV00 and fill the rest in. And now I'm going to go back with my middle color. I'm going to go back with my BV02. And then again with my BV00. And then let's give that a little bit more definition since we added and went so dark down there. So get out your N5 and just in those darkest points, so just right underneath her arm and coming out just a little bit above her belt. And give it a little bit more of a shadow. Then we'll go back with our BV04. And then with our BV02. And I'll touch it up a little bit with that BV00. All right, so I'm going to take that BV04 and right underneath her little hair tie, just along the bottom, add a little bit of color there, and then we'll go ahead and take that BV00 since there's not a whole lot of room for shading. We're just going to fill in the rest of her little hair tie. Now we're going to go ahead and color her little belt. So I want the belt to stand out a little bit more, so I'm going to keep it light. So we're going to take the BV02 and give it a little bit of a shadow right where it's coming out and wrapping around her waist. And then we'll take the BV00 and just do the one swipe over. So let's color her shoes. For that, we're just making them black, so you're going to need N5 and N3. We're going to start with our N5, and on the inside, we're going to give it a little bit of a shadow, so it's going to just kind of wrap around the bottom and on the top. Same thing on this side. And then we're going to fill it in with the N3. So I'm just going to push the N5 out a little bit. Once I have a nice blend, just do one swipe over. So that way we have that dark to light contrast. And now we're going to go ahead and color her hair. So her hair is just going to be brown. So I have E44 and E43. I'm going to start with my E44. And I'm just going to trace these lines coming down and also down from the bottom, and then each of those little lines in her ponytail. And then we're just gonna take that E43 and I'm gonna fill it in. And then I'm gonna go back with my E44 just to add a little bit more of the darker color in there. And then I'll go back with my 43, E43, and give it a couple of little flicks. I really like my hair to have that hair texture, so I don't really like to blend it out too much. So for her little headband, I'm just taking my N5, and from the back, I'm gonna add a little bit of color coming in towards the center, and the little antennas just right along the bottom. And then I'm gonna take my N3, and I'm gonna finish filling in the headpiece and the little antennas. And there we are. She is all colored and ready to be die cut and put on our card. Okay, so here is my completed card using the Butterfly Kisses stamp set. I hope you enjoyed this month's video. I will see you again next month. Bye.